Bare necessity, but simple bare necessity. Bare necessity, but simple bare necessity.
Hey there, it's Bree Bear and welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be doing a character board wrap up for, let's see, this has Rocket and Groot, Happy, which is a secret board, so I'm not going to tell you what prompts for the board. I'm just going to tell you the books that I read for his board. And then we have Starlord. I remembered. It's Starlord is the other one. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about Rocket and Groot first. So firstly, I did use the Groot book for this month on this board, and this was released in March. So the Groot book was Sanctuary by Karen Leaks, I don't know. But I did discuss this book in my video where I talked about Spider-Man's board. What I used this for on Rocket and Groot's board was to complete the prompts. Set in space, features prison, and has an escape plan. The next book that I want to talk about is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse by Charlie McKeesey. This book completed the prompts for a book that makes you feel the way Baby Groot makes you feel, a mammal on the cover, and about growth. Kind of hard to give a synopsis of this story. It really is what the title entails. It's about a boy, a mole, a fox, and a horse. I don't know what else to tell you. In all honesty, this is kind of just a collection of like positive, encouraging thoughts and statements, and, you know, motivating, you know, kids to make good choices and that things are going to be okay and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to describe, but I absolutely adored it. The art style is gorgeous. Like, even the end pages are beautiful. And the words are, the text is handwritten. So it feels like you're reading like a journal or a diary of someone's. It's like, and like some of them are just like this. Like, that is not a very eloquent statement to say, well, hello to a piece of cake or a big cake, but like it also is in a sense, you know. It's just really good. I highly recommend it. I gave it 5 stars. Okay, so I have one last book to talk about for this board, and that is In an Absent Dream by Shauna McGuire. This is the, I think that, yeah, okay. This is the 4th of the Wayward Children series by this author. Wow, that was a dumb thing to say. Lordy. Okay, well, it's the 4th book in the series, and so if you want to see my thoughts on the other books, then you're just gonna have to go and see my other recent reads videos. This covered the prompts, tree on the cover, and also a character with chaotic good energy. Archetypes of the 1960s. Siblings, you have a middle child, a rule follower type of character, you have a loner, outsider type character. The main character's parent is a principal at her school. We talk about friendship, feathers, birds, and portal magic. Themes include fairness, choices, and friendship. It's definitely character driven, this installment. It's darker, it's harder magic system. The world structure is pretty soft though. We don't get like a lot of description of what it looks like. Strong themes and an even mixture of action, dialogue, and narrative. Okay, so there were a couple of statements or like the way that she said things in a couple of spots on this one that really bothered me. One of them was the impending harvest of her sister. Like, that's how she described the main character's mother being pregnant. And that really bothered me. I'm sorry, my sister's pregnant right now, and even before she was pregnant, it really bothers me when people say it weird ways like that, and they try to like be clever or like, you know, But it's just like, no, be a little bit more reverent to, the bringing of a human into the world, bringing another being, living thing into the world. I just feel like it should be respected a little bit more. That's just me. We also have this statement, the simplicity of raising an infant. I just really enjoyed that, and it makes me think that Shauna Maguire is not a parent. Because if they were, then they would definitely know that taking care of an infant is anything but simple. It's easier when the kid gets old enough to do things for themselves. It's hard when they're so young that they can't do anything and they can't communicate what they want as easily as we perceive it. Child raising and care is not simple at any point. At no point is it easy or simple, because you're constantly, as you grow up as a human, even as an adult, you're learning new things every day. You're changing every day. Different things affect your mood and how you feel and how you react and your choices that you make every single day. And so trying to teach somebody that, is going to be different every day, that's hard. It's hard. And that, is in essence what teaching and what childcare is for the parents, for whomever is working with the kids on a regular basis. So it's a lot. And so calling it simple is kind of offensive to people who do that all the time, or people who are parents and are struggling with, certain stages of it. It was just a really dumb statement. There was also a statement, health is the thing that can be bought. No. Yes, you can buy things that help, or things that can relieve, or can, yes, in some cases, but it's not. No, you can't buy health. No amount of money is going to keep you from the inevitability of having to find what works for you, or, having to, experience illnesses or diseases or disorders of any kind of issue or problem that doesn't have a solution yet. Money isn't going to magically fix that. A person could have all the money in the world and still get a terminal or uncurable illness or disease. And for me with Tourette's, there is no cure for Tourette's. That's not something that I can pay money to get rid of. I could have all the money in the world and I'm still going to have that Tourette's. It's not going to change. So that really bothered me a lot. There was also this one choice toward the end that didn't make sense. And I'm not going to go into super depth because I didn't want to spoil. But basically this character was faced with a choice. And part of that choice was, if this happens, then you have to do this, but if this doesn't happen, then you don't have to do this, or whatever. And it didn't make sense why X plus Z equaled bird. The equation didn't add up to me. Maybe somebody else would understand it more. Maybe upon reread I would get more clarity on it, but it just didn't make sense to me, the equation there. It didn't seem logic, which makes no sense considering this is supposed to be a high logic world. So anyways, things that I liked, everything else really. The writing was good. I really liked the concept of this world. And I really enjoyed getting the backstory to this particular character who we have seen before, and getting to really learn about them was really enjoyable, and I liked it a lot. I also really liked getting to see, like, I definitely would say that the main character of this has chaotic good energy because she really chooses to try to push the envelope to get her desired, you know, option, and it backfires pretty badly. And I don't know, just something about it was really enjoyable to me. I liked the arc of the character because it wasn't a super happy ending. It was like oh, wow, oh. And I think that's part of what I love about these books, is that it's not necessarily all about a happy ending. And I kind of enjoy that it's not like every book is gonna have to be the happiest of endings, especially with something so short. You can't really afford to have them all be happy because you don't have enough room to really give the stakes that would make it possible to be a full-on happy ending. So, random tangent on that. I gave this 5 stars. Completed a Rocket and Groot board. For the center prompt, I chose to do I did do a little bit of research learning about environmental issues in my area. I actually learned some pretty cool stuff, but what I also did was decided to set up some ways to recycle in my classroom a little bit more, so that we can keep from having quite as much waste. So next, let's talk about Starlord. Okay, so for Starlord, that was in May, and our group book for May was Rise of the Red Hand by Olivia Chada, and this completed the prompts. Musical term or reference in the title, and I'm counting Rise because Rise by Katy Perry is a song, and so it's a reference to music. Okay, I could have done better. I didn't, okay? Unconventional romance, multicolored cover, and pirate, thief, or smuggler. So this is kind of hard to give a synopsis for, but it's about a girl who's a part of a kind of underground resistance that you know, kind of is trying to protect people from the government killing a bunch of people secretly. And yeah. So I do want to go ahead and shout it out right away. I don't normally give trigger warning ones, but this does have a pandemic in it. It does have a suicide, and the woman who committed suicide was pregnant. So representation for Indian, as in from India, not Native American. Or, you know what I mean. Yeah. And also, sisters, but like found sisters or like adoptive sisters sort of thing. Okay, so archetypes: South Asia, prisoners / criminals, resistance, class system, robots, robotic prosthetics, World War III, alchemy, science, hacking, gamer, secrets, ecological issues, found family, and lies. It's plot driven, it's dark, it's kind of in the middle of the hard or soft system of like science. It's kind of in the middle for theme strength. The world itself, the description of the world is pretty soft. It's more narrative driven, and by that I really mean info dumpy. So it's the issue is the execution of the ideas. There were great ideas in this. There were some great ideas. So the overall story is not new. You have a main character who is either already against the government, or you have a main character who is in the government or related to or involved in a part of pro the government or just passive about it. And then in this case you have both, and they come together and they learn more about what's going on, they find out big secrets, and then they try to take down the government together. That's the kind of, book that this is. You know what you're going into once you, pick up a book that kind of gives this synopsis. So given that information just off the cuff, you have to, the plot is not going to be enough to pull in a reader. You have to build it up with strong world, strong characters, and unique writing that is going to make your book stand out from the other books that have the same plot, the same archetypes or tropes. Because there's nothing wrong with having specific tropes, but you have to do something unique in other elements to put your own twist on it, or to make it, worth the read, in other words. And this just did not do that, because it had ideas, but it didn't execute on them. The world was really unique and cool. I liked it a lot. We didn't get nearly enough of it, in my opinion. Now, some of my friends on the live show talked about really liking the world, and so they must have gotten more out of the world than I did, but I just felt like it wasn't talked about enough, because the concept of the world was really cool. Character-wise, we got nothing. We didn't get any character development, really, at all. It was just really info dumpy. Every section was giving us a dump of information about the character and their backstory, and we repeated some things about backstories as well, and it wasn't told in a way that was interesting. It was all just narrative. It wasn't told in a way that was like natural. And it was also it's in first person as well. It's first person with changing perspectives, which is very difficult to do well. It tends to throw off a reader, A. B, it can be difficult to change your writing tone enough to fit who is narrating that chapter, because you have a different narrator from one chapter to the next, or from one voice to the next. And so, if you're changing not just like who you're watching, but like whose head you're in, it makes it difficult to make that clear and make it work well. We didn't really get a very strong distinction between the voices of the characters. Like, there was some distinction, but it wasn't enough clarity. It wasn't enough clarity. They were too similar in their, kind of edginess. They just had some like slight differences, but like, I don't know. So also the font that was chosen, this is indie published, so I can see why it would have slipped by without being corrected, but you have to be careful with fonts, especially if you're not going to do, this is probably not coming out in like large print or anything like that. The commas and the periods are way, way, way too similar. I had to like second glance once or twice, like especially at first. I was so thrown off. I was confused because it looked like a period, but it was excuse me, but it was actually supposed to be a comma. So that just didn't work for me. There were some writing errors that could have been fixed in editing, but again, it is indie published, so the process is a little bit different, and so I'm not 100% mad at it for that. There were some comments that were made about things that it was clear the author didn't have knowledge of. For example, kids don't cry alone. Like, if one kid starts crying, if one baby starts crying, then all the other babies start crying. It was like what it was saying. And I was like, no. No, that's not true at all. All the other kids just sit there and stare at the baby that's crying, usually. Even if they're infants, or if they're 3, or if they're 5, it doesn't matter. One starts crying, the others just stare. It was like a 2.0 version of I'm Not Like Other Girls. It was like a whole new level of it. I actually marked it page 157. Let's read it. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. 157. Okay. So it's the male character who is from the upland, or he is an uplander. He says, I'm not like the other uplanders. So it's literally like, I'm not like other girls, but I'm not like the other people from the nice place with the nice stuff, which I thought was hilarious. I mean, I understand it, but also that doesn't, you know, it doesn't work well on page. Like, I understand what you were trying to say, but there were also too many redemption arcs. Like, several of our characters, like, I don't know, towards the end, like, the people who, like, one minute were, like, they're plotting against everybody, and the next minute were like, oh, maybe they were trying to do this or that, or what. I don't know. It was weird. It didn't make sense. Also, the romance has absolutely no build-up to it. There's no inclination, there's no kind of undertone, there's no chemistry or energy between them. It's just like, oh, we're kissing now. That was it. But like I said, there were some good concepts. There were sections, a few sections here and there of really pretty lines. But I honestly don't even think the prose was that great. It was just like a few lines were good. Because to me, the prose was the biggest problem because it was all just narration. So you can have the ability to write pretty lines, but not the ability to structure content on the page. So again, the idea wasn't bad. The execution was not there. I gave it 2 stars. Moving right along, the next book I completed for Starlord's board was Paper Girls Volume 1 by Brian K. Vaughan. And this completed the prompts, has a spaceship, loses a parent, set in the 80s, unconventional role model. This is a graphic novel. I read it digitally on my new-ish iPad mini for mostly reading purposes, to be honest. Okay, there we go. So I got it mostly for reading purposes. It was my birthday gift from my dad. Thanks, Dad. You made reading this book possible. So I borrowed it through Hoopla. And I have to say that reading graphic novels digitally probably going to be one of my go-to things now because it's so nice and crisp and clear, just like it would be in real life, but it's cheaper because graphic novels are so expensive. So I'm probably going to read a lot of them digitally, and then if I really love that one, then I will get a physical copy. Let's go ahead and talk about the book. So Paper Girls is about girls that deliver the paper in the 80s. Presentation includes biblical references, Catholic and Christian, but it's not good representation at all in my opinion, so we're gonna move on from that. Siblings, BIPOC, and LGBTQ. We also have newspaper, for archetypes, I mean, newspaper, bikes, 80s, Catholic school, private school, Halloween, spaceship, theft, pop culture, alien activity, time travel, Girl Scout, appearances, apocalypse-ish vibes, dream sequence, made-up-ish language, like, they speak in another language, but it's, like, not a known language that exists in the world. It was, like, the author made up a language. Monsters, life flashing before your eyes type sequence, scavengers, and space. So things I liked. There were some funny parts, and the ending. That was my favorite part of this graphic novel, was the ending was, whoo, snatched my attention right up. I forgot to do this or that. It's plot driven. It's a soft magic system. The magic system is in the foreground, mid to foreground, I would say. Mostly foregroundish, though. More on the foreground side than the not. Tone is kind of in the middle, kind of on the, maybe on the more darker side, maybe. Subtler, more subtle themes. The art style is in the middle of realistic and surreal, but it's more on the realistic side of the two, and it's more action dialogue led than very narrative-y type art style, or, you know, for, what do you call them? Panels. Words. So, dislikes. There were some icky comments, especially there were LGBTQ comments that were unnecessary. There were Christian-related comments that were not necessary. And some inaccurate information regarding a historical event. The War of the Worlds incident was described inaccurately. But anyways, all in all, one of my other favorite things is probably the art style. I really enjoyed. I love the color scheme and the tones. Very pretty. Like I said, the ending for me was really what hooked me into actually deciding to pick up the next volume and keep giving it another try. Because honestly, just based off of this volume, if it hadn't had that good of an ending, I might not have wanted to pick up the next volume. But where it might be able to go might intrigue me more and draw me in enough to want to continue. So we'll be trying volume 2 when I can fit it into another character board at some point, and see what I think of that volume, see if it makes it even better for me. But I just gave it a 3-star because, again, it was kind of average for me, other than the art being gorgeous, the colors being beautiful, and the ending being amazing. And researching Red Bones, which actually this was supposed to be switched. Gamora's and his, I accidentally put them backwards when I put the board together. Oops. See? But researching Redbone, it is really easy to find their story. Go to their website, and on the bio it tells you all about their story and kind of their journey through the music industry. Let's move on because I have other videos to film, and I've been talking way too long for this one. So finally we have the character board for Happy. Happy's character board is a confidential board, which means that you are only able to access it if you completed the boss battle that is related to it. We have not posted this board anywhere, and other than on the secret chat thread for people who completed that boss battle, and that chat is locked, so we're not going to tell you what the prompts are anywhere else. And we're trying our best to keep leaks closed and clean those up as soon as possible, so that as little information is being leaked out as we can. So hopefully you don't know what the prompts are if you have not completed it, and if you do know what the prompts are, then hopefully you completed the battle. The books that I used Rise of the Red Hand for one prompt. I then read 2 other books. The Life-Changing Manga of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. This is a nonfiction kind of manga style version of the tips and tricks and the method that Marie Kondo teaches in her The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. book, which I do have the audiobook for, and I wanted to listen to it first, but this fit a board and I needed to pick up the pace on my reading, so I kind of just needed to go ahead and read it because it fit. But it has all of the same tips and tricks, or like the meat of the life-changing magic of tidying up in pictures with like a little story going on, and it's really cute. I loved it. I think that people tend to look down on, you know, self-help books for being too basic or like common knowledge, but like, no, not everything in a self-help book. I don't even like calling them that. I don't like calling them self-help book. like to call them personal development books, but not everything in a personal development book is going to be new news or new information for you. But even if it's all stuff that you've heard before, then depending on the way it's written, it can still be inspiring or motivating to help you do something that you want to or need to do, that will help enrich and enhance your life. So yeah, I have heard of some of these tips and tricks before. No, not all of them. And a lot of the ideas are very, I think unique to kind of the more Japanese, Asian respecting of the world around you views, as opposed to the very European, I own everything views. So, again, I think that other indigenous cultures outside of Asian indigenous cultures also have this strong respect for, the items that you're using and the things that provide you a quality life. And I think that that's represented here, in respecting the items that you have and what they did for you, how they served you, but also in, not keeping around clutter of things that don't serve you and that could be, they're sitting around and that's wasted, dried out energy that is no longer functional for you. It's draining your energy because, it's hard to explain. Basically, I really like it. I like her method. I like her thought processes because, you don't have to be super about it. You can bring it more down to earth than a big spiritual awakening. Last book for Happy's board was The Mortal Instruments Volume 2, which completed, 6 prompts. And yes, just yes. The nostalgia. So here's the thing. I have a love-hate relationship with these graphic novels. I want to keep reading them because nostalgia, but also there are so many things that irritate me in them. One of them being some of the depictions of the characters, particularly Isabel. I really, 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 really hate what they did to Isabel. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Cassandra Jean, but that is not Isabel Lightwood. Yeah, this, I think I gave it 3 stars as well. I think this was a reread. I think I read both volumes 1 and 2 before. I think, maybe? I don't remember. But 3 stars. It's not nearly as good as the novelization. Everything for this one. I'm sorry this was probably so long. Oh, I'm sorry, Editing Brie. I love you. I appreciate you for getting this uploaded on time, I hope. Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night, whatever time it is for you. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can be notified every time I post new videos. We'll see you guys very soon. Peace out, Bear Scouts.
Look for the bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your stress. I mean it.